Hey everyone, welcome to A Mess Nonetheless. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Melissa, and we are sisters. And we are super excited because today, if you're watching on YouTube, you see this beautiful young lady sitting with us. If you're not, it is our mother, Barb Hinkle. Say hi, Barb.
Hello, everybody.
So Rachel and I are so excited to have our mom on here. I know that we mention her often because she just makes us happy and makes us laugh a lot. I'm going to give you an example of just 5 seconds ago how she made us laugh really hard. So Rachel's in Arizona, as you know. I'm in Minnesota. My mom's also in Minnesota. She lives just a few miles from me. So she was going to come and record at my house with me today. And I had told her she needed to bring a laptop. So she showed up and was like, what? I knew that I needed to bring a laptop. I was like, why would I need to remind you?
So that was a week ago.
Remind me? Is that what she said?
Because that was a week ago.
Yes. She said, why didn't you remind me?
Use your calendar.
When you say in your calendar, go to Melissa's, bring laptop.
Exactly.
But that's not the best part. So what we decided was that we didn't have time for her to like go home and get her laptop and come back. So Rachel was like, just send the microphone home with her. We'll record. She can just be at her house and record. And my mom looks at me. She goes, are you sure that's going to work if I'm at my house and you're at your house? And I said, well, Rachel's in Arizona and I'm here and we do this every week.
I've done Zoom calls before. I've just never done a podcast. So my brain's not in that. And plus it's been a year really since I've done a Zoom call, I think.
So my oldest son was in the room and he's like, oh, Nana.
When Ada, my 11-year-old, heard that mom said, why didn't you remind me to bring my laptop? Ada goes, Nana is so weird. We don't even have to say it anymore. The kids say it for us.
And if you're listening,
so much joy.
Yes, if you're listening and you're feeling at all defensive for our mom, we adore her. Literally, yes. She is one of our favorite people in the whole world. Yes. She brings life and joy and laughter everywhere. And our topic today actually is going to be about not taking yourself so seriously.
Yes.
And we invited her to be a part of this because she is brilliant at not taking herself so seriously. And so
I thought it was a different topic.
OMG.
You sound like me.
Oh my gosh, you too.
But I did know.
Did you think we were doing, Mother?
Oh, okay. What did I think we were doing? I thought we were doing being teachable.
We did that already.
Been there, done that.
Oh, and I just had so many good thoughts to share about
that. Oh my gosh. The best part is that I was at her house and we decided together what topic she was going to do because she'd picked a topic. And then as we were talking, I was like, you should do that topic. And she's like, yes. And then when we were trying to get it on the calendar, she goes, well, I just would feel better if we had a topic pick. And I was like, we have picked 2 topics.
Okay, well, in my defense, I'm old and I'm retired. So I hardly remember to look at the calendar anymore.
Oh my gosh. That's
okay,
perfect.
so here we go. When we need to stop taking ourselves so seriously.
Yes.
It's a good topic for us. Seriously, we have so much fun. In case you can't tell, we laugh so much. We do not take ourselves seriously when we're together anymore. We've specifically, I think my mom and I, but Melissa, you too, we've all gone through seasons where we've taken ourselves too seriously. And it's so much better on the other side. So Mom, do you want to share a little bit about growing up and like your interactions with being serious?
Yeah. Well, I'm the oldest of 7 kids. And so right away, firstborn, a large family. And then my dad, who I adored, I think instilled a lot of fear in me and promoted that, even though he also instilled he shared a lot of wisdom, but he came with so much fear. Mm-hmm. So when you have responsibility,
he was a warden of a prison.
Yeah.
And so he shared
and he
all
had
the
6 girls.
Yeah.
So he wanted to make sure that we understood all the terrible things that could happen to us so that we were prepared.
Grandpa. So you never wanted to leave the house.
No. The first time I got into the car, I got my driver's license. I'm in the car. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. He leans in and he goes, just remember, every time you get in this car, it could be your last. He taught me to be very serious. So in addition to being the oldest firstborn of a large family, I had a dad who took life very, very serious. And, while he did grant, I think he shared a lot of wisdom, he also instilled fear. So when he would come at me with advice, there was always this excitement because he did have wisdom, and then this trepidation because he had so much fear, and I had to learn to filter it out. So really, that was a good training for don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. They always say, like if you maybe don't like all of something, but
Mhm.
often there is still something there we can take away from
Yeah.
most experiences.
And what about your siblings and the seriousness there?
Well, so I was extremely serious. I was a very melancholy kid. I wasn't depressed. I was just very introspective, very deep, always in my thoughts. My sister Cindy is 14 months younger than me, and she is almost the opposite of me. And in fact, I think they could do a show, Everybody Loves Cindy, the way they did Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes.
And to be honest, I struggled with that on and off throughout my life because I wanted to be like Cindy, but I'm not. And Cindy and my sister Susan were very tight. Now, Cindy and I were very close growing up too, but Cindy and Susan were very close, and they did a lot of plays and ridiculous skits. And I thought they were so boring. And they, of course, thought I was very boring. And it really wasn't until I married my husband, who also came with a big dose of humor, only his humor annoyed me. I was so attracted to his, yeah, I mean, I didn't like that part of him. It's like an LP. I like this one song on the one side, but the other song, you're like, I didn't really buy the record for that. And so I didn't really appreciate
I love that you used the
him.
example of a record. Yes.
Well, I stumbled upon one the other day. And again,
well, and that's what you were listening to at that time. So
it was what I was listening to at that time. Yes. But anyhow, so I married Kurt because I was so attracted to his intelligence and his wisdom, and I loved that. But he also had this sense of humor that, we thought about that probably more than anything, because the reality is he would, at that point in time, he would use his humor because he was a little insecure.
Sure.
So he used his humor in that way, and that really annoyed me. So
that is
was
an annoying type of humor, for
know.
sure. Yes.
And but anyhow, so long story short, God has used all the people in my life, but specifically my husband, to help me enjoy life more. And I think that God has really released me from, I'm still serious, I'm still introverted, I'm still introspective and deep and melancholy. I can be all those things, but I feel like they are way balanced out in my life. And
Totally.
while I just want to add one more thing, if it's okay. Years ago, I did trying to remember what this personality assessment was, but it, maybe you girls will remember, but it talks about you're either sanguine, phlegmatic,
I like that
melancholy, or choleric. Yeah. And when I did this, I mean, melancholy, you can imagine what that is. Phlegmatic is super laid back. Choleric is much more, like assertive, take charge type person. And then sanguine is like the kind of life of the party. And this was really early on in my my journey of walking as a Christ follower and trying to become more balanced just in life in all ways. And I took this assessment, and I was almost equal in melancholy and sanguine. And I remember thinking,
and they're like polar opposites.
They are polar opposites, but it explained so much, because I never really thought I had a mental I wasn't out of balance, and yet I did. I mean, like I never thought it was a big problem, except for I couldn't understand why sometimes I would seem to be so full of joy and lighthearted, and then other times I would be so deep that sometimes even though I wasn't in a state of depression, I would be so deep in the cares and the worries of the world that I had a hard time pulling myself out of that. And they were so polar extreme that it made me think, what is wrong with me at times? But seeing this simple little assessment, it just was like, oh my gosh, I am both.
Yes.
And when I started realizing that, it just started helping me balance out and embrace all the sides of me, because up until that time, I think I had only really embraced my melancholy side, because that's who I thought I was. That's who I was being told I was by my loving sisters. They, and I know that now, we've talked about this and we're so close. They didn't know that was contributing to me in a way that was maybe derogatory and even at times hurtful. And who knows what I said that might have done the same thing to them.
Kids don't know what they're saying.
As kids, we don't know. And even as young adults, we don't always know. And really, even as old adults, we don't know unless we get intentional, I think, about trying to figure out life.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's so true. Oh, I like that you said you started to embrace all the sides of you. And now, of course, you know about the Enneagram, and our mom is a 1 on the Enneagram, but ones, you know, there's a lot of responsibility. They want things done right. Perfectionism, like, you know, can kind of be in line in a box. So, you know, live by rules. But one's
Don't make me go outside my box.
that's right. But one's in complete health go to the 7, and the 7 is literally the life of the party. I'm here for anything. I'll laugh at anything. Like, and so that's makes total sense why you would feel like such polar opposites at times. And of course, we've known you all of our years, and we've seen both sides of that. And like, we know both sides are equally you.
Yeah.
You know, the fun comes out and oh my gosh, we have so much fun. But then like moments later, we're having deep conversations and laughing our full heads off. And now we're back to deep conversation. And like, I know we benefit greatly from both sides of that with you.
Oh, if you had not embraced your lighthearted, funny side, I can't even imagine how different we all would be. Like as the oldest of our family, I could see myself, if you had not laughed when I was growing up, I could see myself struggling to be okay with laughing just because
I think so,
I wanted to be so much like you. I wanted to impress you or make you proud of me, what, you know, how that happens. And, whereas instead I like have the loudest laugh and I'm not afraid to laugh and I laugh at everything and I enjoy so much of life, but I really believe that's because you allowed yourself to emulate that.
Yeah.
So I want to give you guys an example of how, she can be the life of the party and totally go to that lighthearted 7. So several years ago, a bunch of us were in Arizona for a retreat for a conference that we were a part of, a Never So Broken ministry that Rachel had started.
I know where you're going with this.
we had done karaoke one night and had a blast. So the next night we were desperate to find karaoke again and it was nowhere. But there's this really amazing like spa and resort near where we were, and they had like these big lights coming up and we could hear music, and she was like, there has to be karaoke there, we've got to go find out what that is. We were like on the back side of this resort, so like it's a big resort, to walk all the way around to get to the front just felt like way too much work. So instead she had us climb over a wall through bushes to get in.
There was like this much space.
Yeah, like it's like
she led the way, I'm going first.
So we tracked down where this noise is coming from, and it is a GoDaddy. It's a private party for you know what GoDaddy is? They like host websites and stuff. They were having, there was maybe 100 people there at the most. Like it was definitely a private party.
But they were kind of boring at the time.
Yeah, they were very boring. Their
karaoke needed a little life in the party.
They needed a little Barb.
And here was Barb. So our mom's
ready to bring her life.
Her song is Dancing Queen at every wedding ever. We've had
I don't care if you're the bride or not, it's still my song.
Exactly. Tiaras show up for her to wear and she gets on that floor and she dances around and she is proud and sings it. So she got up there and asked for Dancing Queen, and she sang Dancing Queen in front of all these people that we do not know.
And they loved us. They were like, you guys can stay.
They were laughing so hard. We definitely brought the life.
And then she starts talking to someone in charge, some guy in charge, like I'm sure high up in GoDaddy. And she's like, you know, I have not been able to get my GoDaddy account to work. Do you think I could send you a picture of my debit card and you could get it activated for me?
I don't know if I said that, but
something just like that.
Well, the flip side of that is I have been offered so many jobs just by those kind of situations.
It's so true.
Conversation with somebody and they're like, you know what you're doing.
Yes.
So Mom, you obviously like the side of yourself that's serious, but you also know in life it's important not to take yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
I love that. Are there any examples you can think of off the top of your head of times where you were like, I wanted to go the serious route, but I was like in faith, or a scripture came to me and I went, I didn't prepare you for that. So if you can't think of anything, that's okay.
Well, I don't know if this answers that question specifically, but what comes to my mind is that I'm a person that cares a lot about justice. I mean, I'm not doing a thing about it, but I do care about it. I mean, I'm not marching for peace. But I genuinely care. Rachel's covering her eyes. I mean, I am what I am, right?
I am what I am.
But I do. I have a very strong sense of justice. And where was I going with that? Now you distracted me.
Be all that you can be in the army.
We told that story a couple weeks ago.
But so earlier in my life, when I would feel like something was not going in a way of justice, but maybe in this, young age in my life, it was often more aimed at me. So then that sense of justice was my sense of entitlement about
Sure.
the way something wasn't going right for me.
Yeah.
But I remember, and so everything in my flesh, the flesh is the part of us that is the opposite of the spirit,
Right.
and so in my flesh, I felt entitled, I felt enraged, I felt proud, angry, all the things, and I wanted to dig in and just stay there because that felt so good in my flesh.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a Christ follower, and I was trying to, would often go to the Bible to see, well, what does the Bible say about this, rather than just how do I feel about this? Well, the Bible says a lot of things that are very contradictory to that. Not that Jesus wasn't all about justice, but not that sense of self-entitlement. I mean,
Right.
heck, he died on a cross. He gave up every right he had, so
Right.
he does not embody the opposite of that, or he does
Right.
embody the opposite of it,
Yeah.
I should say. Anyhow, and so one of my life verses became Galatians 2:20. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live. Well, now that can sound pretty, wah, 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 like not good news. But the beautiful part about it is so freeing, because when we let go of those things that take our energy in a negative way, and usually that's what it is it takes all of our energy, and we're focused on that, and we're not focused on, we're just so boxed in. And that verse, Galatians 2:20, I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but the life I live, Christ lives in me, became an anthem for my life, which helped me to let go of the things that, made me so, I'm still serious. I still am deep and all of that, but, just released me from the things that really kind of held me in a place that took away my freedom, if you will. And I think freedom is the thing that brings joy.
Yes.
So if we don't have freedom, we're not going to have joy.
Right.
A person that is in another country where maybe they are a missionary or they are, somebody who has been held captive because of their faith, can still have that kind of freedom, because it's a freedom in our spirit.
Right.
It's not a freedom like, you can't tell me what to do. It's not that kind of a freedom. It's like something that nobody can take away from us.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Again, I love that. Well, in John 15 it says, Jesus says, these things I've spoken to you, that my joy may be in you and my joy may be full.
And
It's
Jesus came to give us freedom, and he came to give us joy.
And a full
And
life.
life.
And, for me, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. And one of the biggest challenges they say is 3s just like, don't stop and smell the roses. It's like, how fast is my pace? Like, what's my heart rate? Like, I'm just focusing on all the like statistics of my life and all the to-do lists, but to-do lists can totally become an idol.
Right.
And
exactly,
going on a walk and it all being about your pace can totally become an idol. And it stops me from being free, and it stops me from having full joy. And so, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, I really started focusing on that, stop and smell the roses. And like, there's times that I'd be on a walk and I'm like, I love my heart rate and I love my pace. And there's literally rose bushes. And I'm like, stop and smell the roses. And it, but it's like a good reminder of like, who cares how fast my pace is? Who cares? Like, I'm so competitive within myself. There's literally a bunch of roses and they're all on display. Like, God created these, smell them. They're beautiful. Like, touch them. They're soft. And, just for me, learning that like my to-do list and my like idolizing my to-do list, like it robs my kids and my household and my family, anyone who's like around me, of joy and peace, because I'm rushing everyone. And it's like everything's on a schedule, and it's like if I come to a family function, which of course you guys would be at, and I'm like, well, we need to do this on time, and come on, we got to do this. And I'm like, I'm trying to get everybody moving. It's like, everyone's like, we're having a good time and you're ruining it. You're like the robber of joy and peace. And like, so for me to
no mom wants to be called the robber of joy.
No. So for me, like, learning to stop and smell the roses says, who cares what time it is? Who cares what time we said we were going to do something? Like, there are times that, you got to care. I get that. Like, we've talked about that on this podcast, but then there's times that it's like, just sit around and enjoy, just be present. And who cares how many emails I have waiting for me? And who cares that I was supposed to turn over a load of laundry? It's just stop and be present. Those things will still be there and they will get done at some point. And so for me, like, learning to take myself not so seriously, is a little different, has like a different, I don't know what
viewpoint.
Yeah, from me. But like, that's been something that God's really worked on with me. And then like, Galatians talks about the fruit of the spirit. And it's like, that you're walking in the spirit when you show these fruits. And so when these fruits are evident in your life, you know you're walking by the Spirit and not by your flesh. And so when we have the fruit of the Spirit, we have love, joy, and peace.
Patience,
gentleness.
No, I know there's more, but those are the three things I was just saying. Like I rob people of in my
I got my
like
juices going. That's what I wanted to say.
But then there's patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness and self-control. And all of those things, like I do not exhibit those things when I'm living in the need to be so serious and just get my to-do list done, and I'm idolizing something that I have no business idolizing.
Yeah.
So like my experience is different, but I think that people can resonate probably with
Absolutely.
both of us. And then Melissa, did you have like a specific thing you want to talk about?
So the way that I have struggled with taking myself too seriously over the years is I used to be very insecure and self-conscious about myself. And so I would have a really hard time when people seem to misunderstand me, or when they maybe critiqued me, or like, it's like I felt like I had to always show up perfect, kind of. And because I kind of just couldn't handle not being perfect, even though I knew I wasn't perfect at all. In fact, like I felt so imperfect that if I could just show up perfect, then I would feel better about my imperfections, if that makes sense. And it was when I started having kids, and my house was tiny. I've talked to you guys about that. I had a lot of kids in a very short period of time. Like even just my house, I wanted perfect. And there's no way you can have a perfect house with a bunch of little kids. And unless if you're going to kill yourself trying to stay up on top of everything. And I did not have the energy for that. And so that was one of the ways I started letting go of needing to look perfect or whatever. I struggled. I wanted my marriage to look perfect. When we were younger and first married, we were the first ones to get married out of like all my siblings, all my cousins. I have tons of cousins, just so I felt kind of like I was plowing the path and needed to do it perfectly. And when I could start sharing funny stories or imperfect stories about Bill and I, that was so good for me. And
actually that's how people can really relate to us. They don't relate to perfection.
No, they
that
don't.
just actually distance them. That makes them feel further away from us. So
well, I've shared this before, that God gave me when he was really bringing me into this place of, oh my gosh, you have got to stop caring about if you look perfect or not, because you're not. He gave me the words, pretend perfection puts up real walls. And that is, I mean, I have felt that with people. When I am around someone who acts like they have it all together, I don't want to be around them. That is not inspiring. And so that was a way that I really learned how to stop taking myself so seriously, and was just okay with people seeing the rawness in me and the imperfections and the mistakes and in fact, I've gotten to a point where I really like to share those things about myself, because like you said, Mom, that is how people relate. That's how people feel encouraged. And so I've always liked to laugh a lot. So that part wasn't necessarily hard, but the being okay with the other stuff.
Yeah. Well, and something I've been noticing lately, so I have Brighton who's 14, and he is like the epitome of a 14-year-old boy. I mean, like he has full blown gone into teenager mode, and that means good and bad, and I'll find like when we're out in public and he's like not giving me a hard time, like sass and real attitude, but like fake pretend sass,
I have one of those.
And like everything in me wants to be like, I don't want other people to think that he's sassing me for real. So I want to like put him in his place. But then I'm like, but that's just going to like ruin his little spirit. Like he's having fun with me. He's goading me. And so I just like, even if I'm like, he literally was supposed to be in trouble, but now I'm laughing, I just let myself laugh at him. And I'm like, you're such a turd, because I'm like, everything in me, I have a strong sense of justice, wants to be like, well, you were going to get me in trouble, so therefore you are. But I'm like, I'm going to ruin my relationship with him if I'm taking everything so seriously. So like we have to be able to laugh at ourselves and with those around us. And like, I didn't used to be able to laugh at myself at all. I laughed at everyone else. Like I couldn't take it back. And people would tease me about things that were true, but I didn't like that they were teasing me. And I would get like defensive, and I wasn't fun to tease. And I don't know that people would say, oh, you're so fun to tease. But I'm now like, remember when we were talking a couple episodes ago about when one of us thinks we're right, and then the other one's like, well, no, I think it's this. And then we find out we're both wrong.
And we kind of, we assume we're both wrong at this point, actually.
Or sometimes we're like, we're probably both wrong. Forget it.
Can I just interject something there about grandma, my mom?
Yes. Oh,
we loved her. Oh my gosh. She was amazing. She would say, and she was well, I was going to say she was pretty humble, but I don't know if she
No.
really was. She was just so
Wasn't humble.
amazing. But
Yeah,
she would say, I think I'm right. No, I know I'm right.
Oh, grandma.
Grandma was a good example of not taking yourself so
Wow,
seriously.
She was
she
a
really
perfect
was.
example. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I mean, the reality is like, I only started being able to laugh at myself or allowing other people to laugh at me when I grew in humility.
Yeah.
It's like my insecurity or my pride that would not allow me to laugh at myself. And so like, I've got a couple kids who are a little bit, I can tell that they want to be insecure. Like when we tease them about something that everyone knows they do. And I'll just look at them and go, we laugh at me all the time about X, Y, and Z. And they'll go, yeah. And I go, it's okay to laugh about the things you're not good at. Like, if it hurts your feelings, we won't. But like, also don't take yourself so seriously. Like you are this way and you don't have to be different.
Yeah. Or if it hurts your feelings, maybe take a look at why. I mean, is there something there that you don't like about yourself too?
Right.
I mean, I think sometimes the thing that hurts us, it's easy to say you hurt me, but maybe it's okay for say, why does that bother me? And
Absolutely.
then dig a little bit.
Well, that's a really good point, Mom, because I'll never forget when Becca, Melissa's my sister-in-law, she's married to my mom's son or brother. Becca teased me about that whatever, and you guys have all teased me about this, but specifically, I remember this situation. She teased me that if a place takes 25 to 27 minutes to get to, but I got there one time in 22 minutes, I will say it's 22 minutes away. And she was teasing me and she's like, you always like assume for the best case when it comes to that, or you exaggerate or something. I don't remember exactly what she said. She didn't do anything wrong in saying this, but I didn't like it one bit. And I like really started thinking and praying about like, why does that bother me? And the reality is that it made me feel like I'm not a person of integrity if people don't trust what I'm saying, but it's not their fault. They're not trusting me. They just have to know if Rachel says it's 22 minutes away, tack 5 to 7 minutes on the not perfect day. It's not going to take 22 minutes. And I didn't like that. And it was my responsibility to go, okay, if I can't handle you teasing me and it's about something I can actually change that maybe isn't my best quality. I'm not trying to be an over exaggerator. I just, I like what she said, you just grab onto the fastest time you've ever gotten there. And that's what you say. And I don't know why I did that. I just did. And now I want to be someone that people can laugh at, and I can laugh at myself, but they can take me at my word. And so it was something that said to me, you got to work on this. But now I can laugh at myself about that. And I'm not that way anymore, but if people tease me about it still, it really doesn't bother me because I'm like, no, it is what it is. I did it for like 20 years. So I've given them a little bit of, material to work with.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I like that we all have such different perspectives of learning to not take ourselves so seriously. Like what's fun about that is we didn't talk about this. We didn't have a plan. We just were each going to kind of get on it. That's kind of how Rachel
we never have a plan.
We never have a plan.
Half of us don't even know the topic when we show up.
Something that comes to my mind is that, I mean, I know you guys always say, well, so what can we leave our listeners with? What kind of, and I know this is probably early in the program where you're not asking that, but
no,
if I could
we need to do it right now anyway.
If I could just share something. So I do like taking personality assessments and digging into personality and things like that, because I find them insightful. I don't necessarily take them and feel bad about myself. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And what can I do about that? Well, many years ago, probably 20 years ago, I think it was, I did the Strength Finders. And at that time, they pretty much just focused on your top 5. Now you can find out all 34 because there's 34 strengths that they've used in their book. But anyhow, I found out that responsibility was in my top 5. No surprise about that for me. What was a surprise for me was their little one-liner or like brief paragraph. Obviously, the book goes into great depth, but the paragraph that described responsibility said, if you have the strength of responsibility, you take psychological ownership for whatever you're involved in. And I was like, ding, 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 bells are going off. I'm like, oh my gosh, this explains so much that that I probably felt, but had not taken time to dissect and figure out. And that began to unfold so many things for me that I started realizing as a firstborn of a large family with a dad who did put a lot on me. I had felt responsible for things my whole life that I was absolutely not responsible for, but because I felt like I was, then I therefore was.
Yeah.
Right.
I was never trying to take control of situations. In fact, I really would rather not be in control.
Mhm.
But I'm sure it looked like, oh, Barb's somebody that needs to be in control, wants to be in control, simply because I felt psychological ownership, which that strength of responsibility, you want that. If you're going to hire somebody, you want
Right.
that. But at the same time, if you've got that strength, you know, the way it's going to can take over your life.
Yeah.
I would strongly recommend everybody to take the strength finders, but then figure out, if you've got that one, how is it affecting your life? Because it's going to affect your relationships in a way that is not, people aren't going to necessarily all like that about you. Your bosses might love it,
Right.
but your family might not, your friends might not. And so it brought me freedom. Again, I love freedom. That's kind of what I'm all about, is figuring out how to get free of these things that entangle me and hold me back and rob me of my joy,
Yeah.
which is taking ourselves too serious, you know?
Yep.
Right.
So I guess my suggestion would be, figure out some of these things, whether it's a strength finder, whether it's the Enneagram, whether it's any number of other things, you know,
Dig into
because they're
why.
tools. They can be tools to help you start to uncover things about yourself and I've always been introspective. I've always been, you know, analyzing those things, but I still needed some tools to help me. And
so the challenge might be, take a personality test, like start digging into what you don't like about yourself and why.
Not even so much what if you want to figure out what you don't like about yourself, but just, who are you? You know, I mean, so often I think we just live, this is who I am, and we're okay with that, or maybe we're not okay with it, but either way, we're like, take me or leave me, this is who I am. And there's something about that that's okay. But honestly, I think we all get our feelings hurt at times. We all our energy goes into things that rob us of that energy that could be used for something that we care about so much more than the guy that just cut us off on the freeway, or, you know, any number of other things. So figure out what is taking your energy, what is robbing you of your joy, what is entangling you to keep you from, you know, the topic is not taking yourself so seriously, but I think that equals what brings us joy, you know, true joy, not just like, oh, I'm happy when I get to go do my own thing.
Right.
That makes us happy. That doesn't really give us joy in the long run.
Yeah. I like that. I like that
I
a
like
lot.
that too.
Well, we are out of time. So Mom, thank you so much for being on here.
Thanks for asking me. It was very fun. Much easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yes, you made a whole stink out of it.
Well, I kind of did.
She literally
I took myself too seriously.
Yes, you did. We were like, why is she being so weird?
She stood on stage multiple times and shared for 45 minutes about something.
It's the camera. I don't like the camera.
Well, you
yes, but you're looking at us.
Yeah, you're looking at your beautiful daughters and you're looking stunning. Also, the majority of people do not see you at all. They're just listening.
I know, but I watch you on YouTube. I want to see my girls when they're doing it. So I guess that's my
we love that.
When I'm thinking of your podcast, I'm thinking
yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, if you guys want to reach out to us, you can always find us on social media, a mess nonetheless, or our website, or email amessnonetheless.com or at Gmail. We love to hear from you guys. We love to know what's sticking out to you, what resonated with you, what episodes would you like us to do in the future. And so thanks, Mom. We love you, and we hope you guys have a great week.
Bye, guys. Love you, Mom.
Very fun.